another song title challenge where the question is, climbers, how should you write this one, right? This is where climbers send in their song titles to, as many as you want, to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. info@daredevilproduction.com. Put song title challenge or STC in the subject line so it gets into the right folder. And then Brent and I invite a hit songwriter guest on the podcast. We spring it live to Brent and our guest, and we have to come up with 5 or 6 different conceptual angles on how to write this song. It's not a co-write in any way, shape, or form. It's just a fun, creative exercise that we just want you to have some insight into the writing room so you can see how different people flex this muscle and how they can spin a title around. And really, I mean, sometimes the first idea that you have, the first direction that you have conceptually is the right one. But usually, as Brent likes to say, you got to dig through the gold to get to the platinum, right? Mm-hmm. And get down there where you're like, oh, this is the angle right here. This is the bomb. So we don't, like I said, it's not a co-write in any way, shape, or form. We demand nothing except an invite to the number one party, right, Brent? Anything you want to add?
That's right. No, this is fun. This is hopefully kind of infotainment and inspiring infotainment. I don't know how to put all those 3 words in one word, but yeah, to try and just encourage you to dig deeper and hopefully by kind of modeling what hopefully we do either on our own before a write or in the write, just kind of show you how that works and that it's okay to keep digging and keep challenging and go, oh, what about if you do this? Oh, might it be better if all that good stuff? So it's fun. We're not bound by genre in this. And it's kind of fun because normally you get in a room, you're like, okay, who's cutting or what artist am I with? And you kind of on a certain lane. And so this is fun just because I don't have to worry about any of that.
Oh, and also I forgot to mention, really good exercise to breathe new life into your old hooks, you know, that you just kind of gloss over in your hook book that haven't been there in a while. Brent, you've been practicing what you preach and you've gone back and pulled out some 20-year-old song titles that you just wouldn't look at normally unless you intentionally said, I'm going to go back and do a song title challenge on one of these. And lo and behold, you got some cuts, you know, so this works, man. And there's a reason that hook made it into your hook book. Give it another chance to just because it didn't get scooped up within a certain amount of time before the lettuce wilted. You know, you can there's still gold in them Nar Hills, right?
That's all right.
So we got a biggie today. We've got like a freaking songwriting superhero.
Yes, it's funny. I texted a couple of my boys that like hit Nashville about the same time I did. And I was like, guess who I'm climbing with today? They're like, we hate you. Actually, they said, man, one of my heroes. So our guest today, it was raised in Eastern Tennessee. Man, I'll just, we do quick intros on these, but we can go for a while. Released a record on Mercury Records that produced, I believe, 3 charting singles. And one of my favorite records, tore this sucker up. It's called If That Ain't Country. You probably know it. You definitely know some of the songs that just wore this out. He was one of the regulars. If we got to see him at the Broken Spoke, it was a good night. And so we used to go down there and hang out there and go, look at that guy. He's awesome. And some of the cuts that y'all know are Run and Cowboys Like Us by George Strait, I'm Trying and Chrome by Trace Atkins, Didn't I? What Do You Think About That by Montgomery Gentry, What Brothers Do by Confederate Railroad, Touched by Rascal Flatts, Christofferson for Tim McGraw, Randy Houser, ton of stuff. Anthony Smith, welcome to the climb.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for saying yes, Anthony.
Absolutely, man.
I love that.
Well, this is fun. This is fun. And actually, we wrote, must have been 12 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I think last time we've been in a room, real or virtual together. So it's good to see you again.
That's right. I remember that. It was a good time. And we had...
up in Universal, I think.
Yeah. Well, we wrote someplace. It was an old house. And I think Carson Chamberlain wrote there.
Oh, yeah. It's that other one. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
I know we wrote one time over at Universal.
Yeah, we did.
Because parking sucked.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
Parking sucked.
Yeah. Then that's everywhere now. So.
All right, here we go. So
yes,
I had a little bit of trouble in this one because the first 2 that I really liked, I just thought, I better check and not that it's a deterrent if it's already been done because, there were 3 songs with this called Fire that went to number 1. Mm-hmm. So, it's not that, but I wanted to get something a little different here.
A little more Blue Ocean.
So, yeah, I think so. And this will be interesting. So this is from Joe Bugalki, who,
hey, Joe,
I think he's been on before, right? A couple of his titles before. So,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The song title is I kind of like this one. I'm going to be very interested to see where we go with this. But the song title is Pointless Score.
Pointless
Score. Yeah.
Score. SCORE.
Correct.
Oh, man. Is it about TCU's 7 points the other night against Georgia? Is that what this is about?
Did that game just get like immediately boring? Like within the first
escalated. Yeah, that escalated.
7 seconds. Like I was like, oh gosh, this is not going to be pretty. That's how wicked the SEC is right there.
Yeah, that's brutal. Anyway, sorry, that's the first thing popped in my mind. That didn't matter. Pointless Score. Oh my goodness. That I've definitely never heard that one before. So that's not the one that you thought you'd heard before, right, Johnny?
No, there was one that was like literally like a George Strait song. And I'm like, oh, or not George Strait, George Jones. And I didn't do that. And then there's another one that's a pop cut, but we'll save those for later. But this one, this will be interesting. I think there's a lot of different ways we can go with this, you know?
Yep.
Pointless Score.
So I'll just go ahead and pop the top on it, because who knows if we'll ever pull anything out of this one. But Pointless Score. Okay, so looking at the title, let the title write the song. Score, you had the sports metaphor. And pointless, I mean, that's like, it didn't matter. So it might be almost like a breakup song, and somebody's getting a burn on somebody else, but it doesn't matter, you know, or, you know, saying something mean, but it's pointless because you're already broken up. Or maybe it's the opposite where, like, you know, I brought her flowers and she liked it, but apparently that didn't change anything at the end of the game. Like, I still lost. It was Pointless Score.
Oh, that could be self-deprecating then, where you made a mistake and you're trying to bring it back up. But
yeah.
And okay, so you could go funny with that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it could be like, I mean, I think every guy, you know, every straight male has tried to be in a relationship with a woman, has had a moment where it's like, you just did something so stupid that there is nothing that is going to get you out of that hole. Like, you're just going to have to wait it out, you know?
Yeah.
It's just pointless scores. And Anthony, you can put anything you want before or after the title to twist it up too. So, you know, have fun with that.
So I think of Pointless Scores and Faithless Whores.
Oh.
No. Okay. So
can you call it a score with a whore though? I mean, it's kind of like a short name.
I don't know, because that's the other thing I thought of was like scoring. I'm like, oh, well, there's that.
Well, to me, score would be, for example, like, got her in the back seat of my old Ford, ended up with a pointless score because now she won't see me no more. Yeah. It's like, he got to maybe first base. So or maybe got a home run. He maybe scored, but it was pointless because she apparently didn't like it. And she's like, goodbye.
You're right. Goodbye.
Can you come back from a pointless score?
Time you could.
Yeah. Overtime. Yeah.
Overtime. Oh, there we go.
Right.
You'd have to be both pointless.
Right. Exactly. It's this can go downhill quick. But also pointless is like 0 points, right? Pointless. Like there are no points scored.
Right.
Could that be something? I was just thinking like useless score or whatever, but pointless. Yeah, no one, I just don't know what to do about that.
It had to have scored.
Yeah.
It'd be moot.
Irrelevant. Yeah. Boy, I do think the breakup thing where like she gave you some sort of compliment at the end, but the flowers were nice. Nice try. Well, pointless score, garbage time, right? Garbage time score.
Hold on. I got it.
Yeah.
So, all right. For the guys like me that are out there who have a hard time understanding women, right? I have got sisters, but they're younger than me and by at least 4 years. They were not in my social group growing up. So, you know, their trials and tribulations with men did not come through to me, right? I didn't witness those. But there are things, I think, that when we talk to women and they're like, it's the little things, right? So maybe it feels like a pointless score and that's the song. But fellas, like, you know, these little things matter, right? To make your girl feel special. It's not a pointless score. It may feel like one, but it's not.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And a way to turn that more positive, which is nice, because pointless score just feels so negative.
Yeah, I think it's a passing line. I don't think it's a hook.
Yeah, I would be the same way.
Yeah, I think it could be a really interesting and thought-provoking passing line. But resting the strength of the song on that might be a little hard, you know?
Yeah, but that is our task today.
That's the challenge.
The challenge.
We've got to make it worth something.
Right. So if you did like a story song, I could see like we were getting blown out by halftime, Friday night football game or whatever. And we managed to punch one in garbage time. It was a pointless score. And then I'm going out and licking my wounds with my girlfriend, trying to make up with her, that kind of thing. And it doesn't work, but you get a pointless score and maybe a goodbye kiss, or she says some compliment as she walks out the door. Man, just another pointless score is where I think you could maybe, kind of tie a story thread through this thing. So that could be one thing. Poor guy got blown out and blown off at the same night. But
what about a song about perseverance? There's no such thing as a pointless score.
Yeah.
Right. Like everyone can, test and learn, It could be a get through life. Sometimes where you're hoping for something and you've got your sights set on this one thing and it doesn't end up the way you want it to be. It feels like it ends up another. It feels like it's a pointless score, but actually that's the direction you need to be going in. Right. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, too, if you're playing in a game and you're behind 40-10 and there's 2 seconds left and you score again and you've got 17 now, it's really pointless.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Except for the effort, right? Showing everybody else that you're still there to work.
Well, comparing this to love, it's like you're going to keep trying, but at the end of the day, you're just not going to win.
Yeah.
And a score technically is pointless, but yeah, the effort might be worth it. Mm-hmm. But when you were talking, I was visualizing this guy taking a last second 3-pointer to impress his girlfriend in the stands and the crowd goes crazy, but he sees her leaving with another guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So it was pointless to try to impress her, but he did score,
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Or okay, in the context of maybe the long game versus the short game, right? Like to your point, if you're down 40-7 and there's 2 seconds left and you make another score, it's a pointless score. But if that's the first game of the season, and the effort required to keep that going, where can we go with that as far as like metaphors are concerned? Because then you can peak, like my beloved Green Bay Packers almost freaking started doing this and then blew it with of all teams, the freaking Lions. But
I love Rodgers, man.
I love him too, but I want to choke him out sometimes. Like, every time he gets a new girlfriend, stuff goes sideways. Like it's weird. I'm not even kidding. Like he just, it drives me crazy. But you know what I mean? It's like you can be that team where you just start off crappy and then all of a sudden you start to hit on all cylinders and you get in on a wild card. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you win 3 in a row because you get hot at the right time.
Yeah.
So that score was everything. That was the beginning of the momentum. Even how is a pointless score veiled? It's veiled, right? It's like, what does this make possible as opposed to we didn't win this game, but how we got that score is where, we unlocked the wins, like how we can win the future, maybe.
Yeah. I remember, and like who notices the effort? I remember back to I think it was in high school, maybe my freshman year. So I was still doing it wasn't the varsity game, which I played then too, but it was like the junior varsity or whatever we play on another night. It was like all the, freshmen kind of team. And I'm pretty sure it was that. And we were getting blown out one game or whatever. And I was on the D line and I was still like stunning and getting through, but I'd get the quarterback some and I caused a fumble or two, even though it's out of reach, but I was having personally, I was having a good game and not good enough, obviously. But I remember the coach saying, well, Baxter hadn't given up. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
He's still going. He's still, his motor's still going. And even though every tackle was in a way kind of pointless, it changed the outcome in the win-loss column. Of course, it was JV. So
I love that.
But, is there that kind of thing of, I don't know, that's just what it makes me think of. And also, if we think to a world, global, inspirational in a way kind of thing of an act of kindness, in this world where it's crazy. It's almost like Garth Brooks' The Change. I hear them saying, you'll never change things. And no matter what you do, it's always the same thing, whatever. But this world won't change me. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing to prove, with an act of kindness or love. What if it's that kind of thing about, you think the world's going to hell in a handbasket. We can't stop this slippery slope. But to me, it's not a pointless score to do an act of love, to do an act of service, to do an act of kindness, even though I don't care if we're at the gates of hell, I'm bringing a bucket of water because I'm just not giving up.
Right.
I wonder if it could be that kind of thing where people think, and that could be resonant with a lot of people because, just the world is what it is and it appears to be heading in the direction it appears to be heading. kind of whatever side of the aisle you're on, you can have your doom and gloom, but going, hey, acts of love, that kind of stuff. It's not a pointless score. Like it still matters.
Yeah. It's never too late to do the right thing, to do something good.
Exactly. It still matters to that one person. Can't save them all. Yeah. But to that one, it matters,
Yeah.
So that might be a way. It's still kind of odd with the sports thing. Horseshack. Yes.
Okay. Hold on a second. So this actually happened to me. This is so strange that you just brought this up, but it was a freaky moment. So, man, I don't even remember this evening happening, right? It was way back in high school. Mm-hmm. I can't even remember how this happened because I didn't know this girl, right? Like she was not in my friend group or anything like that.
So I don't remember the night, but there was this girl. Yes, Johnny?
Right. Starts off a little weird, right? So something happened where it came into my awareness that, and I just can't remember even how it happened, but that she was somewhere and she needed a ride home. Mm-hmm. And I think it was one of her friends that was one of my friends was like, can we go do this? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, because that wasn't in the plans, right? So we're going to go out of our way to make this happen for somebody. Mm-hmm. And we went and we did it because she was in a little bit of trouble with a guy, I think. Mm-hmm. Like there was something really not right going on. Mm-hmm. And she needed to get the hell out of there. And she was kind of trapped. She felt trapped. Decades later, man, she calls me or hits me up. I think it was through DMs on Facebook and was like, mm-hmm. hey, you probably don't remember this night, but X, Y, and Z happened. And I was just, hey, your friend needs some help. I don't know that I was aware that there was some dire situation going on, mm-hmm. but we just went and we got her and we took her home, and I don't remember her being really emotional or anything. Like she might've been just trying to keep it all together until then. But later on, like 30 years later, she hits me up on this DM and she's like, you don't understand. Like, you just did this one thing that was like something that maybe you might've done, but like, you kind of saved my life right there because I was about to get raped.
Oh, wow.
And so sometimes like it made me think about it was like, sometimes you do something you just normally do, right? Yeah. To be a good person. You don't understand the weight of it on that other end. So it feels like a pointless score to you, but it was the Super Bowl win for them,
Wow.
Which is a crappy, you wouldn't use those metaphors, but, right. But you know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes that pointless score can really change somebody's life.
Like to you it was, but wow.
And I think there's probably a lot of stories like that where you don't know, you're just helping someone stuck on the side of the road or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah. It didn't seem like much to you, but it was so much on the receipt. That's an amazing story. And it kind of reminds me too, my buddy Steve Leslie. Anthony, I don't know if you know Steve Leslie, but he wrote Second Wind with Daryl Worley. And of course that was out there. And that song, has touched a lot of people. And Steve said he was playing a show one night and this lady came up, was like, she was in an abusive relationship and that song came on and she packed and left. And Steve said, somebody was talking to her at the show because, other people didn't know her at the show. And so I'm talking to him and for some reason they asked her, oh, is that your husband? Referring to Steve. She's like, no, but he's the second most important man in my life.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because he wrote that song and that got me out of this relationship. Now I'm remarried and I'm somewhere else and I'm happy and I'm safe. And I'm like, and of course that song did well, but it made me think about like those songs, maybe as songwriters that we write that we think, well, that ended up on this small little album that the world will never hear. Or maybe you played it out, but it never became a hit. But then for somebody, that it gave them the little push to do something that changed their life. I think about that too. Like some of my songs, like, well, I kind of had bigger aspirations for that. Mm-hmm. But you never know how that might, change somebody. So I wonder if you could even do like a third person point of view kind of thing on kind of the omniscient narrator, about, whether it's a writer that writes a song and plays it out and just like felt like a pointless score. He got a nice little round of applause, but it's not moving the needle and it's not getting on the radio. But then you follow the girl that changed her life because of that. Oh, and this whole time he's thinking that was pointless. Like, I love that. It failed. It's like, no, it's changed somebody's life. I write gospel songs and Christian music, and like everything else, most of them don't get cut or they don't become, monster hits or whatever, but you never know how God may be using that.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's $20 in the bank, and yet like maybe from an eternal point of view, it's like, no, that's priceless. Like I use that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Really good thought right there. I really like that. Yeah. Cause you're right. There's not a lot of money in that, but it's definitely can be fulfilling for sure. Mm-hmm. For a whole other reason. And yeah. And inspiring too. That's one thing about gospel music. If you're really doing it for the right reasons. It's not to get off subject, but you sometimes you're inspired, which drives your creativity even better, you know?
Oh yeah. It just kind of keeps all the machinery up and running better. Like it just keeps me more in balance.
Yeah.
You know, so everything kind of tends to work better. So, which is good. And that having a 3-hour, you know, Bible study songwriting session, that's kind of fun where you can kind of do both. You're like, oh that was nice. So, all right, pointless score. Good grief, Joe. What are you doing to us here?
We got to work for this one.
I know.
I truly think that the song, because I think if you try to write this song, I mean, all of the points that we've made making this serious is really good points. But from a commercial standpoint, I think the way that hook would sing, it doesn't just roll off your tongue.
Right.
It pokes. And I think to do that, to use that and make it commercially potentially viable, I think it almost has to be lighthearted. I think it could be real heartache needs to be in there, but it needs to be this dude or whatever that this happens to, however way it happens. And but I do like your original thought about like the ball game and putting it in that perspective. And because, you know, you see this guy, he's out there trying to impress that girl, and that in itself is kind of clumsy, which is kind of cute. Yeah. You know, in fact, he's on there as the heartbreak. And something like that seems like it would be the most digestible and easy to get the concept for average listener, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So here's a thought too, like thinking of, you know, like right now it's basketball season or whatever. And you hear, you know, chants, refs suck, or ref, you suck, or, you know, SEC or overrated, whatever. Can you write it in such a way that pointless score, you know, becomes like somebody scores late, but they're getting blown out. So the home team crowd is just razzing them like, oh, isn't that sweet? You got a field goal at the end and you're down by 30. Good on you. Pointless score. You know, is there like some way to write that in a way like, okay, that's where we're aiming for. We want to write that in a way that's like can be a crowd.
I got it.
Yes.
Don't let you make it the cheerleaders chanting. And they're chanting, "Don't let Baxter shoot no more. He just scored a pointless score."
There we go.
It's a cheerleader chant.
Cheerleader chant.
I can see pom-poms and everything.
Yeah, you just scored a pointless score. You got a few. We got more.
Yeah.
Brian, you missed your calling. You needed to be a cheerleader.
Ready. Okay. No. But so that might be, you know, like that whole I like it, I love it, you know, which was, it's like such a crowd thing. Like, oh, could that be a possible outlet where like that could be the life of it, where, you know, somebody scores late and all of a sudden that comes over the loudspeakers and the crowd's just razzing, just dogging the other team. Like, oh, can we write like enough of a song that it's a song, but we just want to inject it into that world?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, hold on. How about along the lines of something like conceptually like A Boy Named Sue, where maybe that the song starts off with the hook, because we were just talking about that, Brent.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of a cheerleader chant. You put this cheerleader chant to music, right? And just make it like, this could be.
Ain't no holla back girl, right?
Yeah.
Ain't no holla back girl? Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could be like, what's his face?
You're not talking about like Queen, you know.
No, but well, yeah, something like that, something like big and chanty. But maybe the whole song starts off with "That's the moment," where he was just so like he finally gets the first shot, and they're like razzing him, right? And it's like a terrifying moment, you know what I mean? That he never forgets in his life, and he's got to continue to like prove himself forward or something like that. And that was the thing that really made him tough or whatever, or got him through. And you got to put some kind of story to that friggin' cheerleader chant that everybody can sing along to.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or Achy Breaky Heart, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's what I was thinking. Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah. So I think that's fun. That kind of turns me on going, oh, if that's the outcome, let's kind of give the stage direction to try and get, you like, yeah, it may not be number one on the radio, but if I turn into the, you know, NCAA tournament sometime and I hear, you know, somebody chanting that, I'll be like, that does my heart good. You know, that team is a little more miserable tonight because of work I did 5 years ago in a writing room in Nashville. I made my mark.
That's right.
So,
well, can we get one more out of this? Can we get one more?
No. I think I've shot my shot.
I had to. I know.
Tapping out.
Yeah, that was like you said, I think it's not a title as much as it is a passing line,
Yeah.
That could set up a different title maybe from these concepts,
Yeah. And I think what Anthony said is really smart and something to pay attention to is like the way it sings. Like this is not going to be like a Celine Dion big note or a Carrie Underwood pointless score. I mean, the S's alone, just a mess, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to think about either a different hook. Maybe that title gets you onto an idea and then you wrap it up with a different hook going, oh yeah, but we should call it this instead, but came off this title. Or you got to find a way to sing it that actually it makes sonic sense. So I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, Anthony, thank you for saying yes. Yeah. I'm sorry we didn't come up with a better song title, but you know what? It's always a learning situation when we go into these things, right? We learn what works. Yeah. But send your titles in to info@daredevilproduction.com. Put song title challenge into the subject line or STC if brevity is your thing. And then we might just have a hit songwriter on to help us flesh out the concept for your title. All right. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.